Alright, today we're going to show how to do slow motion the right way in Adobe Premiere Pro. So let's do new project. Again, we should be in G:\/MyDrive\video. I can name this slow motion. Hit OK. Once this finishes loading, I'm going to go down to project panel to import some media. I'm going to go back to my video 2 footage. Go to my video footage. I'm going to press Ctrl A to highlight all of those and hit open. We really only need one clip, so make sure you get one that you think would make an interesting slow motion effect. I'm going to pick this guy, set my starting point here, set my ending point there, drag that down to my timeline. So I have a relatively short clip. If I were to play it, it looks like this. Now what I can do is I can right click on my clip and I can go to speed duration. And if I were to say make this 25%, it's going to quadruple the length of time. So now if I play this, you'll see it's in slow motion, but it looks kind of choppy. Because really, if I go forward, you'll notice that it's 1, 2, 3 copies and then the next frame. 1, 2, 3 copies and then the next frame. So I'm going to go back to speed duration. I can change the speed to 50% instead of 25, and I'm going to change frame sampling to optical flow, and that will interpolate all of the frames in between the ones that it actually has to make new intermediate frames. Doing 50 instead of 25, so it only has to do every other frame instead of 3 out of every 4. So we'll notice that right now it still shows repeated frames every other frame. If you press enter, it will start rendering the effects that you have added to the timeline so that you can preview those in real time. This can be a really time-intensive process, which is why we switch it to 50% instead of 25%. The reason why this takes so long is it takes every single pixel in the image and compares it from the old frame to the new frame and tries to find a middle frame. And it's having to do that for 240 frames, 1,280 times this way, and then 720 times this way. Alright, once that finishes, if you play it back, you'll notice that the playback is a lot smoother than it was before. If we were to stop it and advance frame by frame, you'll see that we have the real frame and then the interpolated frame. Now the interpolated frame might look a little blurry and you might get a little bit of ghosting like here with his arm, or the board appears to be there and then it sort of disappears as it's getting confused with the background. But when you're playing it, you don't really notice it. Now while those artifacts are there, the smoothness is so much better than noticing the little tiny effects that happen every other frame. Now if there's something you'd really like to focus on, we can switch to effects. I'm going to go to time remapping, and under speed, we'll have our little timeline right here. We can find the part that we want to start focusing on. We'll say that that's right here. And I'm going to set a keyframe. And then the part where I want to stop focusing, so I'll do it maybe right here. Set another keyframe. And then you should be able to stretch out some little handles here. Maybe make those about the same size. You can click this little drop down. So we're going to make this a nice short little piece that we slow down on so it doesn't take forever. So we're going to have it slow down on just this piece here, and then it'll go back to normal for the rest of it. So I'm going to put the playhead in the middle, and I'm going to slow this down. We'll just see the speed over here. I'll drop that down to about 40%. And then what we'll see is it will start to slow down, and then it'll be really slow, and then it will slowly ramp back up to full speed over here. Now we'll have to hit enter to render these changes with our optical flow, and that might take a little while depending on how long of a clip you selected. Looks like mine should take about 5 minutes. Once it finishes rendering, I can play this and see what we got. See that it slows down here. Once we get past that point, it goes back to its normal slow motion. And we'll see that because we did optical flow, we have all of these in between frames, even though it's at 40% of 50%. So a total of 20%, only 1 out of every 5 frames is a real frame. We'll see that this still looks smooth and pretty good. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to go into graphics. Add a basic title, hit OK. Using the selection tool, I'm going to move that to where I want it to be. If I double click it, should switch to the type tool so that I can change the text. Put your name for your video. After you change that, you can move that if you'd like. And down here in appearance where it says fill, that is the color of your text. So if you wanted it to be red, that's how you would do it. Once everything is finished, you can go to File, Export Media. Once your export settings come up, make sure it's H.264. Make sure the preset is Match Source Adaptive Medium Bitrate. Click on Output Name, make sure you're in My Drive Video. We'll name this Slow Motion. Hit Save, it should say slowmotion.mp4. Once you hit Export, it will create the file that you will turn in to Google Classroom.